We're at 7:06. We're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would join me. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all.
Begins all of our meetings with a public comment period. And so if there is anyone here in the room that would like to make a public comment, or if you are online and you want to make a public comment, please step forward to the microphone, tell us your name and your address, and if you could limit your comments to 2 minutes, that would be great.
Hello Commissioners, my name is Tim Ahrens, 12969 County Road 31 Altura. I'd just like to thank you for taking up the issue of the Road and Bridge Committee in tonight's meeting. And I would hope as a result of the discussion, there would be a makeup of the Road and Bridge Committee that may include citizens and kind of avoid the situation with the engineer and his board that's being the majority of the Road and Bridge Committee currently. I would hope that the committee might meet at its regular schedule, that the meeting minutes might come out, or I'm sorry, the meeting agendas might come out at a time when the public could view them, and maybe even right at the meeting that the public refers to.
Thanks. Is there anyone else here in the audience or on Ring Central that would like to make a public comment? If you are online, please mute yourself and maybe say something to unmute yourself and say something to get our attention. I'd ask 2 more times. Is there anyone else here in the audience or on the internet that would like to participate in the public comment period tonight? And for the final time, is there anyone here in the room or on the internet that would like to participate in the public comment period in our meeting tonight? Hearing none, public comment is closed. The next order of business would be approval of prior county board minutes.
I move approval of the county board minutes for item 5.1 and 5.2.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Kavesi has moved and Commissioner Olson has seconded approval of county board minutes. This is the county board from November 22nd of 2022 and the closed session of that same evening. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Minutes are approved. Item 6 is to acknowledge the receipt of some approved committee minutes.
I move that we acknowledge receipt of the approved committee minutes. Item misnumbered 5.2, it should be 6.1, I think, and 6.2 and 6.3. That's Parks and Environment Advisory Committee meeting from September 6, 2022. Board of Adjustment meeting from September 15th, 2022. And Planning Commission meeting from October 20th, 2022.
Second.
Commissioner Kavesi has moved and Commissioner Olson has seconded, moving to acknowledge the receipt of the committee minutes. Is there any further discussion? And hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item would be to consent comments and approval of our agenda. Commissioner Ward, do you have any items?
I would like to pull item 8.1 for a little bit more discussion, please. And then just an announcement at the end, please.
Okay, so 8.1 is going to be 9.0, and you have some comments.
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Kavesi.
Yeah, I have a committee report from the One Watershed, One Plan, the WinLAC meeting yesterday.
Okay. I don't have anything. Commissioner Olson? Okay. So that would be our amended agenda. In case anyone wants to move for approval.
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second, Ward.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Kavesi has moved and Commissioner Ward has seconded approval of the agenda with the adjustments as noted. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Agenda is approved. Interim Administrator Holte, could you read the consent business for us, for the record?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
do we, have the, oh, never mind, I think you did do it.
What I do?
Well, I wasn't sure on the order of the motion, but I think you had it right, because Kavesi did the motion, Ward seconded it.
That's right.
Okay, my mistake, sorry.
We're okay?
Okay, 8.2, approve conditional use permit for Craig and Deborah Spies and Jody and Ryan McCain. 8.3, approve special election resolution. 8.4, approve resolution requesting state approval of local option sales tax referendum to finance replacement jail. 8.5, approve professional services agreement with Steve Hacken. 8.6, approve LG 220 gambling application for exempt permit Winona Sportsman's Club. 8.7, approve LG 220 gambling application for exempt permit Snow Sports Snowmobile Club. 8.8, approve renewal of purchase of service and business associate agreements with Safety Gale Consulting LLC for training services. 8.9, approve contract with Fort 53 for two-factor authentication dual licenses. 8.10, approve contract with Sim Sound for boardroom upgrades.
Hold that one.
I thought
No,
it was
you-
8.1.
You did 8.1, not 8.10.
Oh, I meant 8.10, I'm sorry. I apologize.
So let's see, I think you can move to reconsider the motion approving the agenda.
Yes.
I move that we consider the motion approving the agenda.
Okay, so Commissioner Ward, you want to second it?
Yes, I'll second that, I apologize.
Okay. Is there any discussion on reconsidering the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone, no one is opposed? Okay,
Well, so,
we're gonna reconsider the agenda. Commissioner Ward.
yes, so I would like to pull 8.10. I apologize, I didn't get the zero in there. The one that Ms. Bolte just read, the contract for Sim Sound.
Is it correct to assume then that you did not want to pull 8.1, which is approving the conditional use permit for Jeremiah and Kelsey?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes, correct.
All right,
I
so-
apologize.
all right, so that is the remodified agenda. And we need an approval.
So, or, then just vote.
No, I think we have to have a
Are
motion.
we voting on reconsideration?
No, that's done.
We've done that.
Now we're approving the new agenda if we want to do that.
Yes,
So,
Okay, second.
Okay.
All right.
This new motion would set the agenda, including item 8.1, but putting item 8.10 as 9.0.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay,
correct. And I apologize for,
we forgive you.
You should.
You're ill, you're ill.
yeah,
Um,
I'm foggy. I'm a little foggy.
brain fog, you're having brain fog. Okay,
Got brain fog.
if there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 No one opposed. Okay, agenda has been reapproved. All right, Administrator Holte, would you now read the consent agenda?
Okay. 8.1, approve conditional use permit for Jeremiah and Kelsey Littman. 8.2, approve conditional use permit for Craig and Deborah Spies and Jody and Ryan McQuinn. 8.3, approve special election resolution. 8.4, approve resolution requesting state approval of local option sales tax referendum to finance replacement jail. 8.5, approve professional services agreement with Steve Hacken. 8.6, approve LG 220 gambling application for exempt permit Winona Sportsman Club. 8.7, approve LG 220 gambling application for exempt permit Snow Sports Snowmobile Club. 8.8, approve renewal of purchase of service and business associate agreements with Safety Gale Consulting LLC for training services. 8.9, approve contract with Fort 53 for two-factor authentication, I can't even say the word, authentication dual licenses, sorry. 8.10 has been pulled. 8.11, approve elected officials retirees 2023 benefits resolution. 8.12, approve 2023 Towards Zero Deaths Enforcement Grant Agreement. 8.13, approve additional special assessment for 46937 Riverview Drive, Crescent, Minnesota. 8.14, approve new fund for national opioid settlement. 8.15, confirm payment of disbursements.
Thank you. Next order of business.
Move to approve the amended agenda. Items, and items.
Madam
Yeah.
Chair, actually Ms. Hund just reminded me, because Commissioner Ward is appearing remotely, we need to have a roll call vote.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do so from now.
So, yeah.
Okay. So, Commissioner Ward, could you restate your motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the consent items on the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Ward has moved to approve, and Commissioner Kavesi has seconded the consent business as it was read into the record. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Since Commissioner Ward is attending remotely, I'm going to do a roll call vote. So, Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Kavesi?
Aye.
Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
And Commissioner Meyer votes aye also. Consent business is passed. So we now move on to general business. Item 9.0, which used to be 9.0, which used to be 8.10, which is approving the contract with Sim Sound for the boardroom updates. Commissioner Ward?
Yes, I asked to pull this. I thought at one of our last meetings, we decided to just leave the system as is. And now I see we're looking to spend some over $10,000. I'm not sure what really is the advantage of doing this $10,000 upgrade?
Hi, good evening. So the last few times,
Just for the record.
yep. Oh, hi, Chad Lang, IT Director.
Thank you.
So the last few times that we did discuss this, the issue here in the boardroom, we looked at moving forward with this plan, but it wasn't in our budget. So we were looking to put it in next year's budget for 2024. I was able to come up with some year-end funds to make this happen. It would improve both audio and visual capability in this room. It's something that needs to get, it really does need to get done. All of this equipment in front of Heidi would be moved off the boardroom desk. The re-racking of our equipment, which has been something that we've been wanting to do, it overheats, it's outdated, needs to be rewired. So we do have the funds in this year's budget before year end to take care of it. We didn't have the funding prior to this, so that's why it was moved.
Commissioner Kavesi?
Okay, does it eliminate the need for an individual to sit there and do things?
Correct.
Or will it be automatic?
It'll be automated, so the camera switching will be automatic. Heidi would no longer have to sit in that seat. It would be auto switching.
And I'm unclear, so you found money in the 2022 budget
This year's budget, correct. So
that you hadn't spent?
correct. Because of our move to Caseworks, we had money freed up in our on-basic funding. I also was able to establish a refund for a software that was brought in that we didn't use, that I just informed Maureen about. So we do have the funding for it. It would have to be within this year's budget. It would have to be signed basically today to happen before the end of the year. Otherwise, we have to push this out to 2024.
Okay, and how long will this new system work? It seems like we just did this. Of course, I know technology, but how long, what's the life expectancy of what you're putting in?
Hopefully many, many years. I don't think that in 2019, when they implemented the system, we're looking at, COVID hadn't hit yet. Auto switching wasn't even a consideration. These type of meetings didn't really exist. So this is something that really came about in the last 2 years. So the technology still works. It just, it's not efficient for what we're trying to accomplish here.
And you got some money, you're trading it in, we're getting some credit on it?
Yeah, yes, so that's another benefit of this. The trade-in of the unused equipment, which is outdated, if we say we wait till 2024, it'll end up in a recycling bin because it'll be outdated by then, most likely. So the fact that they're giving us $3,300 in trade-in allowance on this equipment that is pretty outdated, well, in technical terms it is, I think is kind of a win for us.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, I appreciate the answers.
Sure.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kavesi?
Yeah, I just had a question. Is this gonna improve the audio and the visual for all the meetings in this room, or is it really only the board meeting that uses?
No, it'd be through all the meetings, because, so it'd be a new video processor, all the wiring would be new, it'd be all new programming in the Creston control panel. We have an agreement with SimSound, who do have programmers that understand the language that would need to make everything work a little bit more efficiently there, so it'd be a nice improvement.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
I move approval of item 9.0.
Second.
Commissioner Kavesi has moved and Commissioner Olson has seconded item 9.0, which is approving the contract with SimSound for boardroom updates. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will take a roll call vote. Commissioner Ward?
Regretfully, I'll vote yes. I don't like having to spend this money. I'm trying to save money for another project, but it sounds like Mr. Lang made us a good deal. So I vote aye.
Commissioner Kavesi?
Aye.
Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
And Meyer votes aye as well. Motion passes. The next item on our agenda under general business committee recommendations, item 9.1, to receive a presentation for timber harvesting and recreational cabin zoning ordinance amendments, findings of fact, and conduct a public hearing. And just for my benefit, we are not making a decision tonight, we are just having the public hearing, is that correct?
Correct.
And no one has signed up to speak at the public hearing. Is, Planning and Zoning Administrator, Lou Overhog is gonna make a presentation.
Yeah, good evening. I just have a few comments to make before you can get into the public hearing, and we'll be available for any questions you may have. The two items before you, we have 4 sections noticed here, but there's really only 2 items. It's timber harvesting and seasonal cabins. Both of those items have a few minor changes. I'd say they're not much more than housekeeping items at this point. But I'll run through just a quick summary of what we're looking at. Next slide. With timber harvesting, essentially, the ordinance refers to the planning department. We're going to add in environmental services since that's the name of the department now. So those references are updated. The biggest piece of it is really there is a requirement that this volunteer state best management practices guidelines, we required it to be followed. In the current ordinance, we're proposing to change that to a volunteer basis in order to reflect the volunteer nature of the guidelines themselves. Then we'll also be changing some language from liable to responsible that the assistant county attorney thought was important. Next slide. I think we'll go on and talk a little bit about the seasonal cabin.
No,
Yes.
Before, Marcia, here, Commissioner Ward, before we go on, if I could, I had a couple citizens ask questions about the timber harvest.
Yeah, do you want to do questions now or wait till after cabins to handle
Well,
questions?
I got the timber, I guess I got the timber questions on top of my list.
All right, go ahead and shoot.
Well, first of all, I guess they would like to eliminate it altogether. We have had in our own zoning ordinance a timber harvest area is that carryover from many years ago?
Yeah, timber harvesting ordinance dates back, I don't know, maybe since the original ordinance in 69 or 70. It's been there since the 70s.
Okay.
And actually, at the beginning, through the 80s, a conditional use permit was required in Winona County for timber harvesting activities. And so it's been kind of a process of slowly stepping back from some of those requirements over the years. So I believe in the late 80s, they only required an administrative permit for timber harvesting at certain thresholds. And then that carries on through today as well.
And we're one of the few counties in the state of Minnesota that requires a local permit, I'm told.
I'm pretty sure we're one of two. I believe Goodhue County has one as well. And that's just permit for private landowners. So a lot of the counties up north that are in most of the state forest land do have more elaborate management of their state forests and county forests as well. But yeah, this is kind of a unique permit for us in Goodhue.
Okay, if we, Winona County did not have this permit, would there be a permitting process through the DNR that a local Winona County resident would have to obtain, or are we the gatekeeper on permitting?
I believe we're the only ones that require permits. I'm not exactly sure what the DNR's processes are, though. I think they're more technical advisors.
Okay, and I guess I would like and the citizens that talk to me would like clarity of, are we making it more restrictive than what the DNR would require? But I guess if we're not taking actions, more research can be done in that area.
Yeah, I would say that we're not. I mean, just by I guess requiring the permit, which is we require $75. And a minimal amount of information provided. But just other than that, I mean, we're not really standing in the way of any projects or, we don't have that many additional requirements that would make it, somehow more restrictive.
Well, so that's the case in point that the citizens brought up exactly. What do you get for your $75? And what's Winona County doing for it? And then there is reference to have oil and water plan and issues. So I guess if it's a fictitious feel-good $75 permit, maybe it's not what we should be doing. Is the comments I heard from several citizens. So we can do, if we're not taking action tonight, I can do a little more research there. Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Marcia. So moving on to recreational cabins, if there's no other questions about timber harvesting at this point. The seasonal dwelling, okay, I'll step back just so I can get my thoughts together here. The ordinance includes a definition for seasonal dwelling. It really isn't connected to any standard in the ordinance. It doesn't show up anywhere in the ordinance, just a definition. So the seasonal dwelling definition provided a little bit of it made things a little, it muddied the waters a little bit when we were looking at recreational cabins. Because they're somewhat similar definitions and they're talking about the same types of things. So we decided to, are recommending to remove seasonal dwelling from the definitions. Then we were looking at recreational cabins. we had a few minor changes to those standards, including to clarify that structure footprint refers to the footprint of the livable or enclosed area, not porches or second stories, not square footage of the structure, but literally the footprint that's interior. And then that standard is 900 square feet, so that's going to remain the same. Overall building heights, they changed it from 15 to 18 feet. They thought 15 was a little bit unreasonable, so they're moving that up to 18 feet. And then we are changing the occupancy language. The current ordinance, the assistant county attorney thought would be difficult to enforce. And so it's really the same idea. The standard's not really changing, just the language is making it a little bit easier to enforce if that was ever needed. So those are the changes that we're proposing at this time. There is a clean version and a strike-through version, so you can see those individual changes in your packets. If you want to hit the last slide.
Commissioner Olson, you have a question?
Just quick question, I didn't read the strike-through version, but the recreational cabin, I see this happening all the time now where they're doing the Airbnb type things on these little recreational cabins. I think from a building code issue where we have accessibility, they have to be handicap accessible if you're gonna rent them out as a hotel room or a hotel Airbnb type thing. Especially if they're new construction versus an existing dwelling. So it does muddy the waters if that's the intent.
It's the intent for these really was to allow small recreational cabins such as hunting shacks, not necessarily just hunting shacks, but those would definitely, those are the ones that are almost kind of more common for us to hear about. So that we don't have to use our dwelling standards for it, because anything that doesn't meet this, we would call a dwelling, and then you'd have to go through, you have to meet your density standards. There's a whole bunch of zoning ordinance requirements that would have to be met, as well as a lot of cases conditional use permits.
My house is 900 square feet, so I guess I'm living in a cabin.
Right, so,
City limits.
in this, by this definition, you could be considered possibly a recreational cabin.
You live in the city of Winona, different rules,
Same assessor.
different rules. I have Commissioner Olson said I have a question.
Sure.
Where does this, how does the minimal continual parcel size for recreational cabin shall be 1 acre? The person that has the recreational cabin has to own 1 acre, or it has to be set aside on 1 acre? That seems like it's defeating maybe some of our other land use things.
Well, 1 acre is the minimum lot size in the ag district. So that's where that comes from. We just didn't want them to go smaller and be on little postage stamps. We wanted to set a minimal lot size for development, essentially, of any kind.
But I think I would want them, I personally would want them on little postage stamp. I would want them to take out more land from normal production and ag. I think just thinking briefly, I would want them on real small postage size stamp lots versus an acre. We're trying to minimalize it, but then we're taking an acre out of something else.
Well, I will say, the only thing I'd say to that is that we're not proposing to change that. That was what was there before. And that just because a lot is larger doesn't mean that agricultural land is being removed.
But do they have to own that, or can they rent that, or?
Well,
Can you rent an acre?
The owner is the only person who can make improvements to a piece of land. That's the only person that we can issue a permit to. We can't issue permits to people who are renting.
Okay. All right, I gotta think about this one too. Thank you.
You bet.
Administrator Qualley, did you want to say something?
Just a quick comment, thank you, Lou. Just briefly back to commercial timber harvesting permits. So I just wanted to assure the commissioners that we are not issuing permits for the fun of it. We're pretty busy as it is, and we want to do the county's legitimate business. However, some of the language about best management practices and sustaining forest resources, as well as being able to discuss the soil erosion standards in Chapter 9 as part of this, permittees need to follow 9.15 on soil erosion standards. That in and of itself is a valuable feature here, because soil erosion, we're spending a lot of money with the SWCDs and many other areas of land use. So giving this a pass, it's one way to have that discussion at the counter briefly, but also about invasive species programs and possible chemical availability for Oriental bittersweet, that we can get them for free. It just allows a little bit of conversation about the project without unduly creating expense for those contractors, and we keep it moving. So that's why we want to do these minor cleanups but still retain the statute. Thank you.
Is the presentation complete, or is there more?
The only thing I have is just to let you know the public hearing is next, your discussion, and then we'll be, like what was mentioned earlier, is that we'll have to come back for a decision, so I'll get to come to another meeting for you guys to make a decision later. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Anyone else have, any other commissioners have questions? No? Okay. So then the next order, if I remember this right, our next order would be to open the public hearing, which we would need a motion to do.
So,
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Olson has moved and Commissioner Kavesi has seconded, opening the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Oh, no, sorry, I'm sorry.
Aye.
I'm gonna take a roll call. Yeah, Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Commissioner Kavesi,
Aye.
Mr. Olson,
aye.
and Meyer votes aye. Anyone opposed? No. Okay, the public hearing is open. So no one has signed up for the public hearing, however,
Can I add on?
please come to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 2 minutes to share your thoughts with us.
Howdy, I'm Pat Pulaski, I'm zoning planning for Wilson Township, 242 Pfeiffer Hill Road. And I would like to speak in favor of the comments by Administrator Qualley and Mr. Overhout. We put out a minor permit for logging. There are 2 issues. One, Administrator Qualley already referenced, and that's issues with the hillside runoff and the way they scrape undergrowth. The other one is stacking of log materials immediately adjacent to roads that can block drainage. That's the only issue I've run into. Our fees are only $40, and I go out and talk to the fella, or in one case, a gal that was doing it, and make sure they don't impinge on drainage. Because out in the bluffs, that's the issue that we have, is drainage. But little sidebar on that, they're awesome. They're great to work with. I'm from California, only been here a short time. A lot of experience in government relations. They are marvelous, and I'd like to put in a good word for them.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment regarding these proposed zoning changes? If so, please step to the podium, tell us your name and address. And I will ask for the third and final time. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to make a public comment as a part of the public hearing for the timber harvesting and recreational cabin zoning ordinance amendments? Hearing none? Do I need a motion to close the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Ward has moved and Kavesi has seconded a motion to close the public hearing. Is there any further discussion? I will take a vote, roll call vote. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Kavesi?
Aye.
Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
Meyer votes aye. Motion passes. Okay, the public hearing is closed. Our discussion will be happening at a future meeting, so that I think that ends this particular agenda item. So, our next item is 9.2, which is to conduct a public hearing on the 2023 budget, the 2023 fee schedule, and the transportation sales tax projects. So is there a presentation, or do we go directly to the public hearing?
We go directly to the public hearing.
Okay,
I move that we open the public hearing for the 2023 budget, the 2023 fee schedule, and transportation sales tax projects.
Second.
I'm gonna give it to Commissioner Ward. She's behind, since she's on Ring Central.
I'm delayed.
Commissioner Kavesi has moved and Commissioner Ward has seconded opening the public hearing for the budget, the 2023 budget. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to proceed with the roll call vote. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Kavesi?
Aye.
Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
Meyer votes aye. Motion carries. The public hearing is open. Is there anyone in the audience or participating on Ring Central that would like to, no one has signed up, but I will make this offer 3 times. Is there anyone that would like to make a public comment as a part of the budget hearing?
I would like to make a public comment, please.
Hi, you, this is Melissa, right?
Yep, Melinda.
Oh, Melinda, please go ahead.
Sure. So Melinda Grove, and my address is 30367 County Road 11, Houston, Minnesota. And I am a member of the Winona County Extension Committee. And I wanted to come and talk to you guys tonight about a budget recommendation that came out of our Extension Committee meetings. And I believe that you've all been forwarded those meeting minutes and that recommendation. And the recommendation was to increase our budget to allow for us to move from 1.5 full-time employees as local extension educators to 2.0 full-time employees. As a member of the committee, I've had the opportunity to hear of all the work that the local extension educators have been doing with youth in Winona County. And it is a very diverse program that they are running, and it is very impressive, the impact that the 2 individuals have had in our county with youth. They have really taken to meeting youth where they are and creating diverse learning opportunities for them. And the youth are able to build character and really educate themselves in unique ways. And it's just been amazing to be able to hear their progress that they've had. So as a committee, we recognize that they are limited by only having 1.5 full-time employees, and would like to request that the part-time employee be moved up to a full-time employee position. Micah Miller, who is currently in that position, has been doing a wonderful job and has expressed interest in wanting to stay within Winona County and continue working full-time for us. And I think that having an employee like that working with youth in our county is a valuable asset that I would really encourage you guys to look at being able to take a look at our Extension Committee budget recommendation and vote accordingly to allow us to have 2 full-time local extension educators in the county. Thank you so much for your consideration tonight, and I'd be happy to reach out to anybody if they have any questions.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here in the room or attending via Ring Central that would like to make a public comment regarding the budget and fee schedule? Is there anyone here in the audience or online that would like to make a comment? I see someone who's turned on their camera.
Yes, Andrea Pauley here, and I wanted to touch on the same topic that Melinda just touched on. My address is 33666 County Road 113, Utica, Minnesota, and I am a resident of Winona County, and I also wanted to put in my support for expanding the role that Mika is currently filling. I am a former 4-H'er through Winona County as a youth. I also now have children in the 4-H program, and I'm a co-leader. And I've observed what this additional 0.5 FTE has offered. It's really allowed the 4-H program to reach into the early elementary age bracket in a much more significant way. It's also allowed more in the way of community engagement through camps, library programs, school programs, which really keep kids engaged and doing things that are going to help them grow. The expansion of STEM and arts through these programs has really been another piece that I've observed and appreciated. My kids have really enjoyed several of these programs. The other piece that I think is really unique to this role is allowing career exposure into trades, which is something that is really not offered in the elementary and even the junior high age level. And they've been able to bring in community professionals in the trades and allow kids opportunity to be exposed to these roles, which is something that is really going to be more highly sought after. And I think engaging people or kids in our own community in hopes that they will show interest and in the future pursue professional training in these roles is something that's going to, I think, benefit our county. I agree that Mika has an incredible knack for working with this young age group. I have my one son that's a very busy kiddo, but she is able to kind of rise to the challenge and meet him right where he's at. And I know other kids that have really enjoyed that. And as a club, we've really enjoyed the support and the resources that Mika has been able to offer, but look forward to hopefully expanding that. Yes, so I think that ends my comments, but I'm also happy to be available for questions if there are any.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here in the audience or attending over Reed Central that would like to participate in this public comment period? And for the final time, is there anyone here in the audience or participating on the internet that would like to participate in the public hearing about the budget and the fee schedule? Hearing none, I think a motion to close the public hearing would be in order.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Olson has moved and Commissioner Kavesi has seconded a motion to close the public hearing. Is there any further comment? Hearing none, I'll proceed with the roll call. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Kavesi?
Aye.
Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer votes aye. The public hearing has closed. Should our discussion of the budget proceed now or under 9.3?
9.3.
Okay, so this closes item 9.2 and we move on to 9.3. Discuss, modify, approve the special tax levy resolution, which is for Semtra, and approve the budget for fiscal year 2023.
Pat, are you covering that or is there?
Actually, Buffy's online, it's not her.
Commissioner Meyer?
Commissioner Ward?
We'll do the easy one. The Semtra levy request, which is on, hold on, I'm still scrolling here, is page,
You know what's in there.
I know, there's a lot of pages to scroll through here.
328. Thank you.
I got a long way to go here.
328, 329.
Okay, I would move to approve the central levy as presented in the packet of the $100,000. Of the $100,000 requested amount for 2023.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Commissioner Ward has moved and Commissioner Olson has seconded. Item 9, under 9.3, the 2023 final levy request from Semstra. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Commissioner Casey? Yeah.
In the motion, it was stated that the requested amount of 100,000, wasn't the original Semstra request higher than 100,000?
I believe it was about 120,000.
Okay. I just was curious. With our full budget, you know, all of our budget workshops that we've been holding, we really have had to scrub the budget, and we denied their Semtra's request for 120,000. Okay, but we are ready to give them 100,000. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Baranik has unmuted herself. Would you like to share a comment with us?
I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Commissioner Kavesky is absolutely correct. Our request was originally for $120,000 approximately. Our levy has been held at $100,000 for, this would be the 10th straight year. We can do the inflation math and we know that the $100,000 really isn't the same as it was 10 years ago. So the preliminary levy was set at $100,000, but if there is any room to increase that through general fund and route that through the HRA, that would be greatly appreciated.
Commissioner Kavesky?
Yeah, I do have some questions. With the $100,000, does it mean homeless people in the county, or does it mean repairs being deferred or services cut?
Yes, all of that. It does. It means we don't answer phone calls. It means we don't do rehab that possibly needs to be done. The housing stabilization and preservation, that portion of it was what was taken out of the budget in order for it to balance to $100,000. We have reduced our receptionist. We used to have a receptionist at Semtra. We now have a phone service. So if you call, you will get you'll actually hear me on the phone service, and you'll be routed to the individual that would take that call. Sometimes, and a lot of times, they're not even able to answer the phone call, and it means return phone calls. So we have squeezed all the blood out of this turnip. So at this point, we're at a point where we're cutting services and it's limiting what we're able to do.
Yeah, thank you.
As I will give you the floor as soon as Commissioner Kavesky is done, Commissioner Ward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just wanted to note, you know, this is kind of a repeat of a discussion we had earlier as a board. But it's well known in the social services area that housing is a social determinant of health. It's one of the mainstays. When you have permanent housing and secure housing and safe housing, other problems tend to not come up as often. So by not having permanent and safe and secure housing, we could be influencing the amount of social services that appears in our offices. Anything from unsafe housing, it just runs the gamut. Food insecurity, it just multiplies from there. Housing is a base, and it's a secure, safe, standard for housing. So just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Commissioner Ward?
Buffy and the Central organization is doing an outstanding job. And a big part of why a lot of this can't get done is at a higher level. It's the federal government and the state government and the funding that comes from there. And we've got a long list of Section 8 people that want Section 8, but there's just not units available. And SEMSHA has gone from a model of, in the past, under different management of trying to build market rate houses, which is not the model that we're currently using. We're trying to rehab and fix up properties, and even we're getting approached often to buy old, slightly run-down properties that landlords have maxed out their tax credits and everything on. Now they want somebody else to come in and take them over and fix them up. But that $20,000 isn't going to change that landscape. And there is the opportunity, as always, this $100,000 comes from the rural residents. The city of Winona, tends to be asking SEMSHA to do a little bit more all the time, hasn't participated monetarily in the same proportional amount as the rural residents of Winona County do support housing. So there is an opportunity within our county boundaries to create more revenue, but it is at another elected body to seek that revenue. So I feel very comfortable and confident that taxing my rural residents the $100,000, SEMSHA will continue to do good work. Their budget is much like ours. A big part of it is hiring. We just can't find the people to hire to do some of these jobs. So things have to change to accomplish the task. And so there is some savings just in wages because you can't hire somebody to do the job. But moving forward, we need to look at all resources, not just the rural residents of Winona County.
I tell you what, Commissioner Ward, I've asked this a number of times. So our staff made a proposal to us back when we started these discussions, the serious discussions of the budget. And that was that we have been collecting sales taxes, which are dedicated to road projects. And if we chose this year to take an extra $250,000 from that sales tax fund, which is just sitting there, and this year alone, we said, you know what, we're not gonna use the levy, we're gonna allow the levy for other things. I understand that the extension educator, the bill is gonna be something like $39,000 to make that a full-time. And that's something I support, I'd like to do that. I'd also like to give SEMSHA their extra $20,000. And frankly, I would like to have fully funded the senior advocacy services, seeing as now that I'm 65, I have had the opportunity to use them. So I am wondering if you are open to a negotiation where maybe we consider doing some of that funding from roads and bridges. Now, we won't decrease the funding, we'll just take a little bit more from the sales tax fund. And as Commissioner Jacob tells us, if we've collected tax money and it's sitting in a reserve, we shouldn't be collecting more. We should be using what we've already collected.
I'll respond. That's totally against why we passed the sales tax for road and bridge. That's almost explicit in if you go back to the original documentation, and I'd have to go back too, but no, that is not what we said we were going to do. And that would destroy all the public trust. That sales tax and that portion of local levy is for roads and bridges. I'm not sure why you feel you want to rob that particular fund. And our projects are listed, it's included in the document. It's not just sitting there, it's being spent. Next summer, we've got some big projects. It will all that plus will be spent on just a few projects. So no, I can't take away sales tax that I said that has to be used specifically for the list of projects that Highway Engineer Dave Kramer's provided us. And quite frankly, when I look at budgets across the state, a lot of counties allocate more to roads and bridges proportionally than Winona County does. So no, I won't, it's not a negotiation for me. If Miss Veronica needs more money, and I told her this early on, and she knows my feelings on this, is go ask the city of Winona for some money. And we can cover some of the gaps that we're doing for them and expand some things, because this will benefit citizens living within the city bounds of Winona City.
Is there any further discussion on the central levy?
I'll just add that we have $709,000 of levy capacity. You only use 15% of that levy capacity. You can't do anything about that today, but in 2023, when you go to set the 2024 budget, you certainly can. And there are ways that we could partner and work with the city. We can utilize those funds. I don't live anymore in the county of Winona, but I certainly do a lot of my shopping, and the city of Winona does benefit me as a southeastern Minnesota resident. And when I lived in the out county, the city of Winona benefited me too. So I'm not in the business of drawing lines. I service all of southeastern Minnesota, and I think that's an important point to remember, that we have $709,000 in levy capacity. You're only using 15%. And if housing is truly an important issue for Winona County, that is an avenue that you can utilize.
Commissioner Kavesi.
I just have, I know we've gone over the budget extensively, and it's never been a real pleasant discussion, because this year, above all, in terms of meeting our needs, whether it be housing, library services, just right down the line, in terms of meeting our needs, it's a very, very, very slim budget. So I know, it's never a pleasant conversation to talk about these cuts, but I'm curious that tonight with our IT department, they found some money. Do we have any other found money?
Can we find some other money?
Do we have 20,000 that we may have found somewhere, because I know that we can't increase this amount without upsetting the full budget and the levy and all of those discussions that we've already had. But the idea of found money is kind of intriguing.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, if I may clarify, so part of that is not just found money, if you will. Mr. Lang has been trying for a number of months to try and get a refund from a software company.
Yes.
And we finally got it. So, and very much to his diligence, and I appreciate that. But that is really the gist of where that came from. So it's not newfound money, we finally got it back.
I was afraid that was the answer, but I just wanted to check one more time. I mean, it's almost Christmas, right?
Okay, so
We've been good.
I wanted to ask you a question. Okay, so I talked to you earlier, and I was trying to understand increasing the FTE equivalence of the extension that is part-time right now, that position. The price tag for that is $39,340, is that right?
Correct.
And so I did, Sydney Green, in her email, she sent it, we got a number of emails from residents and members of the extension committee really wanting us to be able to fund this half-time equivalent. So Sydney said there are some interns, and that she would be willing to give up the interns if we put that salary towards this salary. And that would be what, about 12,000?
Correct.
And is there any other stuff in that budget for extension that could be used to bring the salary to what it would take to make the, to make it half-time? Hi, Lisa.
Madam Chair.
Lisa Dirks is the extension director for the region.
Hello, Winona County Board and public. I just want to clarify, the amount for the intern is $6,136. And the amount for a half-time educator, so the increase from half-time to full-time, is $39,340.
Now, are there 2 interns?
There is only one intern in the current memorandum of agreement.
Okay.
In the budget that is preliminary in there shows 2 interns. There's never been 2 interns in a contract between the university and Winona County. So that is an error.
Okay, so Ms. Dirks, I actually took that from the email that you sent me. That there were 2 interns for $12,272.
Correct, in the 2023 preliminary budget that's in there. But our memorandum of agreement contract between the Winona County and the university is for 1 intern.
Correct, thank you.
Commissioner Olson, and then you, Commissioner Ward.
Thank you.
I think Commissioner Ward motioned and I seconded that we were gonna discuss the Central first. And then maybe get
Would you
that
like
off,
to delay that
get
this
that
conversation?
off the plate,
I'm happy to do that.
Yes.
and then we'll
Yes.
go on.
Okay,
Yes, please.
further discussion on the central levy. Hearing none, Commissioner Ward has moved and Commissioner Olson has seconded the approval of the $100,000 request for levy to Sam Sheriff for the 2023 budget. I'll proceed with the roll call vote. Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Commissioner Kavesi,
Aye.
Commissioner Olson.
Aye.
Meyer votes aye, so motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Perez.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Olson.
I would also add that, we've gotten to the number that we proposed by making some hard decisions throughout the year and throughout all the budget requests. And just as SEMCRA, deserves more, inflationary costs, we have certainly not kept up with that. But we came to the number today by making some hard decisions, and it seems a little bit unfair that we would be deliberating adding a half-time position when we've told our own staff and many departments, no, all year long. And now at the last 13th hour, we're fighting about this, and it's just, is it worth it? Yes. Is it deserving? Yes. But we've got here today by making some hard choices throughout the year.
Commissioner Ward and then Commissioner Kavesi, I think. Commissioner Ward?
Okay, thank you. Well, unfortunately, the whole extension increasing to full-time seems to have gotten lost. The message got lost. If you saw some meeting minutes that came through, that was back in July, the committee was recommending moving that from a half-time to a full-time. Unfortunately, Ms. Qualley, who was the kind of the liaison, did have some medical, and maybe the message just didn't come through. And I see the extension budget, it's not our employee. We have a memorandum of understanding with the University of Minnesota. These people are not our employees, they are University of Minnesota employees. And when we had discussions, and even going back into a document that was dated September 13th, some of the additional verbiage that was in here, it does say no new positions, but it never referenced extension. Highway, sheriff, health, auditor, treasurer. Never once in the document did it indicate anything with extension. And I'll take full responsibility. I didn't raise it. I didn't raise the question then because I see it as a different line item than employees. Even on the chart that was in that too, it has full-time budgeted, full-time equivalents. And if you look down that full sheet, and again, this was from the September 13th memo, extension is at the bottom of that sheet. and it really is only referenced the clerical support staff that is a county employee. So there again, I thought the message had been presented, it was there, and then just within recent information of the budget, it all of a sudden is coming to an issue, which I didn't think it was going to be an issue. Now, we talk about a tight budget, and we talk about all the cuts and everything, and yes, I understand. But I did ask for a document that Mr. Moga provided me, and I think we should all take a look at it. Instead of looking at the document we usually look at as budget, it'll have like the actual, like the one I'm looking at, it has 2022 actual, 2021 actual, and then it'll 2022 budget. But the document that I find much more interesting is the actual to budget. So you can look back at our history in 2020, and the one I had Mr. Moga print me was a 2020 and a 2021. And the actual budget, the actual compared to the budget in the extension line, in the Department 603 extension, in 2020, we actually underspent $23,383. In 2021, the actual spent to budgeted was lower by $16,667. And if you look through every line item within our total budget, what actually got spent versus, and we've always said the budget is a plan. It's not the actual amount we're gonna end up spending. Some is gonna go over, some is gonna go lower. So I see that the extension has actually saved money over the last couple of years and never gotten credit for that. And a lot of departments have saved money. Things haven't been as expensive, or we've held up, or sometimes things go over, road projects sometimes go over. So this discussion of not increasing the extension educator to full-time is somewhat different than our own employees. And I know we all got the emails. I hope you all got an email, and I had a personal call from Ann Rebel, who is like the District 861 continuing ed, community ed. I'm a loss for the correct title, but she said she partners with this the group, the 4-H curriculum, and it expanded her work. The benefits of it, she can't put a measurement on it or a dollar amount on it. For us not to enhance the 4-H experience, and it's proven curriculum, they test, they monitor, they do results, they do surveys, they monitor their employees and the curriculum, and it's so expanded, and the emails and the notes we got to not be able to do something positive for our children in Winona County is you know, it's within our bounds. It's not $1 million, it's money, but I think it's probably the best spent money that we could possibly have. And realizing that both Commissioner Jacob and myself support this increase, because we see the value in it. How often do we get a chance to influence young people's lives? So much of what we do is prevention, is reactionary. Here we've got an opportunity to do something that is so positive and so outreaching and so rewarding to these not just the kids, it's the families, and the families are the community. So I think before we should easily find that kind of money in this budget that we have, or at minimum take it out of reserves. We've got more than enough reserves to cover it. If it doesn't pan out, we review it in a year and then we make another decision. But to not do it this year, I think would be almost, I just couldn't imagine not doing it for the kids of Winona County.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward. Administrator Qualley wanted to speak, and then Commissioner Olson will have the floor.
I was
You
in
first?
the queue somewhere.
Oh, y'all, I give you, I'm sorry.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Just put me in the queue.
Okay.
So, 4 quick points, Commissioners. One is I want to assure Commissioner Ward and Madam Chair and Commissioners that the instructions of the Extension Committee and the Extension Budget Committee were followed to the letter in the budget, regardless of what happens subsequently with my knee replacement, because that was submitted beforehand. But more importantly, The Extension Committee doesn't spend money on monthly meetings, they meet quarterly, so there's not the travel expense and things that, used to occur. That was, a budget saving measure. The one thing that did not come to light till later in the year, but that was not available when we were doing the budget discussion back in June and early July, is the sheer numbers that Kim Steyer and Micah, our 0.5 person, who I think is still in line, or she was earlier, are dealing with is impossible for one and a partially funded person to deal with. So the relinquishment of the summer intern was part of this, with the idea of having the continuity of a permanent person. The fourth point ties with this, and that is, because of not getting applicants for one of my open planning positions, we're gonna have to re-advertise that past the first of the year. By the time this is all established and another opening is filled, I'll have saved that much money in my budget overall in which extension is housed. But also keeping in mind the difficulties in hiring, having an outstanding individual that is experienced working with youth. I normally, the extension budget is presented, Lisa is an excellent regional manager for the University of Minnesota. I rarely come up and talk about this. In this particular case, those are some points I just wanted to present, and thank you for letting me interrupt.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt too, but this topic on the extension is not on the agenda. I know it came up in the comments. It's a very worthwhile discussion, but I think it's not, it would be for the budget review next meeting, the 27th, if you wanted to bring it up. I'm a 4-H alumni too, so I really support extension, but from a practical and procedural, this discussion probably should not continue until it's appropriately on the agenda, so.
Although we are approving the budget tonight, right? Or no?
No.
No.
No? Okay.
We're having the public hearing.
Just having the public
Right.
hearing. All right. Commissioner Olson, do you want to speak, or should we go ahead and stop?
done.
Okay.
She made my point.
I did just want to close by saying, if the extension folks can figure out a way in their budget to fund it, that would be excellent. All right, so is there anything else that needs to happen with regard to 9.3 tonight?
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Ward.
I can appreciate Attorney Sonowit's comments, but we need to give, if we're gonna change something, we can't wait till the end of December to change it for the staff to make a resolution for the budget. Correct? We only have one more meeting in December.
We only have one more meeting in December, correct, the 27th, but it's not on your agenda tonight to continue this discussion. Again, it's a valid discussion, but it's not on the agenda. SEMCRO was on the agenda, not extension, but the comment from the two citizens that were very valid as well. Again, you will not find me to complain about extension in 4-H. It's one of the best leadership programs, but it's not on your agenda today. So I would recommend that you direct staff or someone to maybe talk to Ms. Holte about putting something on the agenda for the 27th that would include, because you're looking at the whole budget. So an extension's in the budget, right?
Yes.
So it could be a topic for discussion on the 27th.
Madam Chair, Mr. Moga, if needed, if the board changed what they wanted to do on the 27th, so we put it on the agenda prior to, we could still change the resolution after the meeting for them to sign, correct?
Yeah, we can make the adjustment on the levy and the budget. I'll have to go back and adjust the documents and change the dollar amounts into the appropriate areas, and then get that information to administration to get the appropriate signatures for the resolutions.
Okay.
But I also did just want to make a comment about the budget. At the present time, it's an 8.5. We are also looking at taking almost $1.1 million out of the budget. So that means that next year, you're starting with a 5% levy plus whatever the increases are at that time too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks a lot. Phew. All right. And now item 9.4, we're moving on then? Everyone's,
I have one last.
thank you, Commissioner Ward. Go for it.
One last question, and with Mr. Mogus' comments. If the motion for the budget included taking additional money from the reserves, does that dollar amount have to be determined?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, what
Okay.
I mean, what I would see a couple of alternatives to simply not do it, to see if Extension can make some adjustments in their budget to come up with the money, given the pot that they already have, or go into the reserves. So, maybe you can prepare for those contingencies.
Use your magic wand.
Again.
It's a small budget, isn't it? All right. Item 9.4, discuss, modify, approve recommendation for elected officials 2023 compensation and approve the resolution.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I do not support this resolution, and as always, my main reasoning is that in my opinion and comparison, that the counties used are not comparable counties. Wages aren't the only thing that should be compared. It's tax base, percent of levy, and a number of host of other things. So us continuing to use those counties for comparison is, to me, is outdated and irrelevant.
I understand from our past conversations that it isn't easy to change those counties, which is why we haven't done it. But I think you're.
I don't care if it's not easy, it can be done. We just use it as a crutch, in my opinion.
Commissioner Kavesi?
Yeah, looking at the, items that people have attached, they've attached their accomplishments for 2022, their goals for 2023. So there's plenty of rationale and support, for these salary amounts. In fact, what I see here actually amounts to, I'm blanking on the term. It's a favorite of another of our commissioners who wants performance evaluation, excuse me for blanking. So I would support this, we don't have a motion, excuse me.
Maybe you would like to make one?
I'm in the middle of, yeah. I support the recommendation for the elected officials' compensation based on the amount of information and the knowing in some cases firsthand, because of working with these people, that the work that gets done is quality and very much appreciated. So I would move that we approve the recommendation for elected officials 2023 compensation in the resolution. Approve the resolution.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Kavesi has moved and Commissioner Olson has seconded approval of the resolution as it appears on page 347 with those numbers that were recommended.
Yes, I'm still scrolling past the achievements. Yes, there's 4 salary amounts for the sheriff, the attorney, the recorder, and the county auditor treasurer, all of whom have performed significant duties during COVID, as well as during their regular service to the county.
Is there further discussion? All right, hearing none, I'm going to proceed with the roll call vote. Commissioner Ward?
Nay?
Commissioner Kavesi?
Yes, Kavesi votes aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Meyer votes aye. Salary resolution passes. Okay, Pat. Mr. Mocha, could you give us the monthly finance and budget update for October 2022?
I'll provide you the October finance update. Beginning cash is 12.2 million, actual revenues are 645,000, actual expenses are 1.5 million, ending cash is 11.3. For the year, started out at 14.8 million, actual revenues are 13.4 million, actual expenses are 16.8 million, ending cash is 11.3. This is in the general fund, the variance is a negative 3.4 compared to last year's negative 2.7. For all the funds that are being presented, this year is a negative 5.2 compared to last year's $5 million. I do want to point out in October, we had a negative number in community services, but the cash has been distributed for taxes in the month of November, and we have a positive, and I'm thinking it was like right around $1 million, but there's been expenses that have been occurring in December, and we will see how the end of the year ends. We hope that we will be better than last year. It just all depends on all the expenses that occur. And the one thing that is kind of, one of the things that is a little bit against us for the month of December, there's 3 payrolls. So that's a large expense. No questions on that document. We'll go to the summary. Summary, beginning cash is $19 million. Actual revenues are $30 million. Actual expenses are 35.5 million. Ending cash is 13.8, negative 5.2 compared to a negative 5 million. Any questions on the summary document? And then we'll go to the summary budget. As of October, the expenses were at 83%, and the only one that I'm seeing that is actually, that's a little bit higher than that is highway, but those are kind of driven at different times, and they're kind of closing their projects up right now, so there's some bigger expenses that are occurring in that fund. Interest at the point this year, we're thinking that we're gonna have 180,000, we're at 105. That is starting to come up a little bit. Rates are coming up, but again, I don't know if we're gonna make that goal of the 180 this year. Any questions on this document? Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is 9.6, to discuss and adopt a resolution setting the commissioner's 2023 salary. Our choices are to adopt Resolution A, which is no increase, Resolution B, which is the cost of living, or Resolution C, which is the average of the comparable counties.
And Madam Chair,
Commissioner
I-
Ward.
I would move, in the spirit of this being a community service, public service job, I would move the Resolution A, no increase.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Ward has moved and Commissioner Olson has seconded adopting Resolution A, which does not increase our salaries. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, I'll proceed with the roll call vote. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Kavesi? Aye. Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
And Meyer votes aye. Motion carries. Item 9.7, discuss the makeup and function of the Road and Bridge Committee.
Just for clarification, this is our third round,
This is the-
so we can have a full
The
discussion.
actual conversation can happen tonight, yes.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Ward?
I'm not sure if any staff has come up with anything else, but just my take, having served on road and bridges for the entirety of my service, it always has been, we haven't ever changed the structure, not that we can't. I think there's some concern that staff can outvote the two, and it is currently the two rural county commissioners that serve along with staff. And we've had issues where we haven't agreed with staff, and we've always come to a resolution, and anything that we bring, all things are brought forth to the whole board to discuss and weigh in and have information. We depend highly on the staff to give us the technical ins and outs of any of our discussions. And they are open meetings, so public can sit in and address. And I have to highly compliment Dave Kramer and his staff for including the community meetings in our latest, when we do a big project, or we're redoing a complete, like Pickwick the Bridge, or the old Homer Road project, or the project we're gonna do next summer up in the Wilson area, where we engage the public so they know exactly what is gonna happen within their neighborhood. I'm not sure the true value of having a citizen appointed to the Road and Bridge Committee for everything. They're always encouraged to come. If I have people that call that are concerned about something, I always tell them when the meeting is, and encourage them to come to the meeting and express themselves, as Mr. Ahrens has several times. So I'm not, and it's an internal committee. It's not, we have no authority to spend. It's a recommendation committee, just like so many of our other, personnel and the safety committee. And I mean, there's a list of internal committees. We do not have the public as membership. So just my sense, it's worked. We're not always on the same page, but we discuss things. And we have good information and good discussions. And again, everything we discuss does come to the full county board for full discussion.
Commissioner Kvesi.
Yeah, I realize it's an internal committee, but I just think in terms of transparency and, meeting the full needs of the public, we need to really take a look at this. There have been public members who have said they have had difficulty tracking down when the meeting is or pieces about the meeting. I don't know, that shouldn't be happening. It seems like a public committee should have public members. I do commend Mr. Kramer, Department Head Kramer. I mean, I know the public meetings, the wide open meetings that we had about the Goodview Road project were extensive, and they did very much inform people, and we also listened at the same time. But those meetings are meetings about projects that have already been approved. The public comes to find out the implications from this project. Is my road gonna be closed? Do I have detours to worry about? What's the timeline, and all of that, which is after the fact. So I would be in favor of obviously continuing those kind of public meetings, because we engage with the public about each project, but also making the Road and Bridge Committee into something with public membership, just in the interest of transparency.
Madam Chair, Mr. Kramer would like to speak.
Hello, Highway Engineer Kramer, could you please proceed? Marshall, you will be next.
Good evening, Dave Kramer, County Highway Engineer. If I could, I would suggest actually referring this to the Road and Bridge Committee to kind of talk it over, hash it out, and bring something back to the full board. We do have a regularly scheduled meeting a week from today at 9 a.m. at the Highway Department building. Commissioner Jacob has indicated he will not be able to attend that. So I guess actually would like to have probably 2 commissioners there. If one other commissioner was able to attend, I think that would be helpful, and if more than, other than Commissioner Ward, who's on the committee, and if more than that would like to attend, then we could post that as a special meeting. But I think this would be something that it might make sense to kind of hash through the details and at the committee itself and bring something back for the full board to look at.
Is that the 23rd?
Whatever's a week from today, the 20th.
Okay, is that a hybrid meeting, county engineer?
Oh, it's on Tuesday? It's on Tuesday.
That's on Tuesday at 9 a.m. We can set that up with, with a remote option. We've got the hardware in the room to do that.
Yeah, because of my schedule already not involving a meeting at that time, I'm out of town, so I would prefer a hybrid option.
Yeah, I can come. Okay, Commissioner Ward.
Yeah, a question for staff, Ms. Holte and probably Attorney Sonneman. We have certain committees within the county government structure that do require particular participation. But we also have a number of internal committees. Commissioner Kavesi said it'd be good to have somebody on the highway because it affects them. Well, so the question I have to ask, we have a personnel committee. Would it be good to have citizens? We have a labor negotiations committee. Would it be good? I mean, where do we draw the line? And then by putting, and again, I'm not against citizens being there, but effective and efficient, we would raise the price of our committees because we do offer potential mileage and per diems. Just putting it out there. Where do we have committee, and then do we take applications? Like we have a land use committee. I don't know that there's, and there's a number of them. So I guess I'd ask staff to look at all our committees and see if there's, more than this that need to be discussed and reviewed. And is there statutory requirements or how do we best serve the public and serve our staff and ourselves?
Commissioner Kavesi?
Yeah, I'm looking at, we're not making a motion tonight necessarily. I don't see that. It says discuss makeup and function of Road and Bridge Committee. So
I think we could, but I don't know that we.
Well, I was just willing to say, I would recommend that we follow County Engineer David Kramer's request or suggestion that we refer it to Road and Bridge. They have not had a chance to discuss this as a committee, and I think that's probably a very fair recommendation, and then bring it back to the board with further discussion and possibly a motion to do something with the makeup and the function of the Road and Bridge Committee. So I would propose, that we just take that recommendation from County Engineer David Kramer to let the Road and Bridge Committee discuss it and bring it back.
I would say this to, really in response to Commissioner Ward's comments. The difference that I see sitting on the safety committee is that it really has nothing to do with decisions that affect the public. And so the difference that I see with Road and Bridge is that it really is making some decisions as shown, like I think recently by the cattle pass sort of thing that really brought this up as a topic, that some decisions were made that ultimately were approved by the board, but that citizens wanted to potentially have had more input on. So there are a number of different ways to make that happen, but I am open to that, and I hear some of the things that Mr. Aaron said when he spoke today, because he said them several times, and that is that he's concerned that they're regular scheduled meetings, that he knows that there will be a meeting, or that citizens would know that the agendas aren't always out in advance, that they're not recordings necessarily, and he sometimes has difficulty finding the minutes from the meetings. So I think those are valid points. And it makes sense to me that this committee, and let's say maybe the Land Records Committee, they have things to do with the public in a way that certain other internal committees don't, and it seems pretty clear to me. I don't think it's hard to make that judgment.
And I think we could take each internal committee individually and have some discussion if we need to on some makeup and function, possible changes for them also, if they interact with the public or impact on the public.
They all impact the public because it's all part of our budget. It's all part of our function if you want to draw that line in the sand. But I agree. Let's take it to the committee and we'll discuss it more. Thank you.
Okay, is there further discussion, and are we comfortable with just making a recommendation at this point and not actually making a motion?
Make it so.
Can I clarify, is both Commissioner Kavesi and Meyer plan to attend?
I will try to attend. I have a family member in the hospital, so depending on
The reason I'm asking it is from a quorum of the board standpoint, we would need to post as a public meeting.
Yes.
A special meeting of the county board.
Yeah, I plan to attend, even though
Okay, so we will facilitate
I'm in a different
that.
time zone and all kinds of, but.
Okay, then we will do the proper notices so that you have the option to attend.
Good, thank you, and hybrid, obviously.
Right, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. So Commissioner Ward, you had some comments.
Yeah, just the upcoming holiday season is coming. Tonight we might have some slippery roads and interesting travel, so I just want everybody to be safe. Our highway crews do a tremendous job at keeping us safe on our public road. And just everybody be cognizant if they're out there plowing or see trucks. Give them a few extra feet and a few extra minutes to get where you need to go. Please be careful and have a happy and joyous holiday season. Thank you.
And Commissioner Ward, I want to wish you to get well soon.
Yes.
I'll be back.
All right, good. Good. Commissioner Kavesi.
Yeah, I just have a report from the One Watershed, One Plan meeting of yesterday from the WinLAC planning group. We approved the plan revisions, and these were plan revisions that included public comments from the public comment period and also agency comments. And we had a joint meeting of the Policy Advisory Committee and the Technical Advisory Committee to deal with all of the public comments and the agency comments. This includes Minnesota Department of Agriculture, Department of Health, MPCA, DNR, etc. So we had, I think, 13 pages on a spreadsheet organizing all of the comments by topic, and I really appreciate the working group for organizing the materials, but we did deal with all of the plan revisions. So the next step is now to have a plan that is again released for a full public hearing, and this would be held and organized by the Planning Advisory Committee, and we set a date tentatively for the 26th of January with a weather date of the 30th of January. And the location is at Minnesota State College Southeast, and it will be at 6 p.m. And this will be, between now and then, there will be public copies of the plan as revised yesterday, and we will take comments on the full plan. This is a hybrid meeting. They will present the plan, including the scope and intent of One Watershed, One Plan. It'll include the timeline, because ultimately the plan has to have adoption by each individual county and the city of Winona, since they are an official participant, and then be submitted to Bowser for full approval. So we will have a hybrid meeting on the 26th or the 30th at Minnesota State College Southeast. One little hiccup happened during the meeting. We had a quorum, which included our online members, and we had consensus on the discussion of when the meeting, how the meeting should be formatted, all of the details about the meeting. Just as we were ready to take a vote, we lost one of our members due to technology. So we did not have a quorum, so we are taking, what I just reported to you, although I reported it as a final decision, has to be worked back through the quorum option for the Planning Advisory Committee. So barring no difficulties there, plan for a meeting on the 26th of January, and weather barring on the 30th. So we'll keep you posted.
Is there someplace that I could go to look up the exact times or get the Zoom links?
Yeah, this will be all posted on the Winona County website. The planning department is handling it with our water planner, Sheila Harms, excuse me.
Okay.
I don't know where that came from. Yeah.
All right, I don't think there's any other business.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Olson has moved, Kavesi has second, motion to adjourn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll proceed with the roll call. Commissioner Ward.
Aye.
Commissioner Kavesi.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Fire votes aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Wow.